Coming back after COVID-19 with John Burt. Thank you for joining us today, folks. We're excited to have you here. This is a big discussion. It is a big topic coming back after COVID-19. So much of our world has been turned upside down this way and that way, pulled in all sorts of ways. And so coming back is not going to be an easy thing. It's going to be a challenging thing. And that's what we want. Leaders want challenges. Leaders want to have the skills and the abilities to take on these challenges, deal with them successfully, help their teams move through the challenges, get on top of them, and get to a place where the team and every individual on the team is feeling like, yep, I'm ready to go. I'm working. I'm engaged, and I got your back. You got my back. Let's make this work. Let's go forward with that. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be looking at that, having a great discussion here with John. John's been with us before. I think you know John. John, let's just take a minute, though, and you just, again, introduce yourself. Great background, great coach, great credentials and pedigree. Take it. Go.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Rich, for having me today to talk about this topic in particular. So I'm an executive leadership coach and work with ILEC. I have over 36 years of management consulting experience. So my experiences with working within kind of the corporate world, Fortune 100 companies and such, I think has provided me with a lot of learnings about how leadership works or doesn't work. And I'm currently, passing that along to clients in terms of helping them to find their, leadership style, strengths and weaknesses, and develop those behaviors that they need to be more successful in their careers.
Very good. So let's start off here. Give us your take on what's happening. What's got to be happening now as we make this move from post-COVID, kind of, sort of, maybe, into this, this world here we got going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty turbulent times, Michael and Rich. And what I would tell you is that, there is going to be a hybrid model. I refrain from calling it a new normal because I don't know that anybody really knows what normal means anymore. But I would just say that there's going to be a new paradigm out there for companies. We've been over the past 14, 15 months, many companies, individuals, as well as leaders have been dealing with this sort of firefighting mode. I mean, just every day has been very tactical. We just basically, many companies and businesses are just really out there just trying to survive. And now, in fact, if your company already hasn't started to shift from that more tactical mode back to a more strategic mode, you're probably already behind, because I think most leading companies, leading executives are already making that shift and thinking more strategically about what does their company need in this new paradigm. A lot of industries have been upended. There's been new models that have been created during the pandemic, which has been kind of a low touch or no touch environment. I'm thinking of telemedicine. I'm thinking of some of the things that have happened around education. I could talk a little bit about that, but there's just some industries and some verticals that have really been significantly impacted, and in some cases that transformation to new business models has accelerated, and in other cases, they're still searching for what that new model is. But I think that's the challenge for leaders today.
What are your thoughts on that? Thank you, John. What are your thoughts on that, Rich?
There's a big challenge in this today. If you look at the numbers, 67% of all the workers out there went home. They're working from home, 67%. That's a substantial number. That's a substantial portion of the workforce. And here's the problem is there's only 27% of those people working from home are saying they're getting the right type of support, the right infrastructure, the right kind of platforms in order to continue working from home. That's a big challenge for leaders today. How do you do that? How do you continue to have an effective workforce, based on, all these things you may have had in place, all the IT, computer, everything else that you would have had, at work in an office space, now from home? How do you do that? Everybody's Wi-Fi is different. There's upload speeds, download speeds, everything's going to be different. And, and continuing. So that's just one problem that leaders have to deal with. So there's big companies now that have made the switch. Everybody's home now. They decided this is great. Let's leave everybody home. Let's have everybody work from home. And so there's going to be a big change in culture. There's going to be a big change in the way leadership works. How are they going to stay in touch? Well, that's a big thing. Staying connected with your employees, with the people in your organization. You have to continue to find a way to do that. How do you build company camaraderie when everybody's at home? You've got people out there, and we've talked about this before, brand new employees that the only way you've ever met them is via Zoom. That's it. The turnover that goes along with that, the leadership turnover that goes along with that. John mentioned continue to emphasize your company values. And you have to do that. And they may change with what we call maybe the new normal. And like John said, I don't know if anybody really knows what the new normal is yet. I think we're still trying to get used to it. So there's a lot that has to be discovered, a lot that has to be resolved for leaders to continue to be effective. And it's not just the leadership aspect, it's the whole infrastructure.
Right. So whenever there's change, there's stress, right? Mm-hmm. Stress it happens because of the fear of the unknown, and how well we deal with the unknown, right? Are we going to deal with it well? Are we going to create? Are we going to deal with the stress in such a way that it brings people closer? Are we going to create greater alienation? Let's be honest. Some of the people before this COVID-19 pandemic took place, they were already alienated in their own workplace. They didn't feel like they fit in. They didn't feel like they belonged. They didn't even like being there. Whatever it is, there was already alienation taking place. So whenever you have stress, it accentuates that which is already stressed. Leaders got to know that, right? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it also stresses that which you want. I want more of this because now I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling disconnected, all that stuff that goes along with it. So it's a multi kind of thing that's taking place. And so for the people that may have been alienated and now that are working from home and they can kind of do it their own way at their own rate, the idea of coming back into the workplace just creates greater stress because I was feeling alienated before. I felt like I could, let my hair down when I was at home and I could work, but now I'm going back to this. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are all very, very difficult kinds of things. And so when you talk about, we got to go back and reinforce, talk about more, deal with more, the company's vision, the company's mission, the company's values and principles. The more you do that, what you're actually doing is inviting more conversation. And we may think, well, we've covered it before. Well, you did cover it before, but you didn't cover it at this time, at this place, with these kinds of stressors with people and what was going on with them. So the ability for and I think this is a critical thing. Leaders, you have to act. We talk about that all the time. You have to act. Leadership, mainline, leadership, act. That's what we do here. And so if that's the case, then if you got your people that are stressed because they left or they're coming back, whatever the thing is, what do you got to do? What is it you're going to do to get them out of the stress? Some will come quickly. Some will take more time to do that. But what do you need to get out of stress and get them excited? Mm-hmm. What do you do to get them excited and want to re-engage rather than just kind of come along because I got to go? John, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think you hit it, Maikel, in the sense that there are probably a large number of people who enjoyed working from home. Less traffic, right? They didn't have to, they could spend more time with their families. But what studies have shown is actually people over time, have felt a certain level of loneliness or disconnection. I'm not saying that everyone. I think there are probably a good number of people who could work from home and never hit the office again and probably feel very comfortable. But I think that in many cases, what you miss is you miss the company culture. You miss the collaboration with people, and you miss the companies exist because teams of people tend to do things better than individuals, right? So you have the company leadership would like to get everybody back to a state of collaborating, being committed to the culture, being committed to the mission, purpose, and values of the company. But how do you do that when people have been disconnected from that workplace for so long? You have people who have had time at home in their own thoughts, right? A lot of alone time to think about what their priorities are. So you see people who are shifting jobs, who are doing exactly what you said, which is questioning. I feel disconnected before, and now do I want to go back to that place? So I think that the leader's role, and I think a lot of leaders have I think a lot of company cultures were poor going into the pandemic. And I think that unless leaders step up and they do exactly what you said, which is, they got to give people that why. They got to connect them to the mission, purpose, and values of the company again, or for new hires, they need to just really extend themselves to be able to do this. They need to get people excited.
Jump in here for a second, because you hit on a button, I think. We hear a lot about, you got to give them the why. What's the why? What's the why? What's the why, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to take more than just the why. I think it's going to be a conversation.
Yep.
Without conversation, it's very difficult to connect.
Mm-hmm.
We need to hear. We need to feel like we need to say, and we got to feel like we're being heard.
Right.
We're being understood. You know what I'm saying? Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Absolutely.
So I think, it's a perfunctory kind of thing to say, well, here's the why, what we're doing. Here's our mission, and here's our values, and our vision, and all that kind of stuff. What I think what's going to have to happen to create that relationship. I mean, it's a relationship that we're really asking leaders to step more into, is that here's the why, what we do, and that. But let me ask you, leader to employee kind of a thing. How do you feel about the why now? Not back then. How do you feel about it today? How do you feel about that why going forward? How do you feel like you fit in with our why? Does your why match up with our why? Do you see us coming together here? Do you see us really coming back as a team? This is the leader now saying, I need to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
I need to hear what you have to say. And don't tell me what you think I want to hear, because you really don't know. You may think you do, but you don't.
I think Maikel, you're absolutely correct. I think that because so many people have had time to reflect and to think about what their priorities are in their life, that's going to be at the forefront of their mind coming back into the work environment. It's going to be less on the leader's mind. It may be the why, but in the employee's mind, they're going to first want to know, do I want to still work for this company? Do I still want to work with these people? Do I still want to work for this person? Do they validate my experiences that I've had over the past 15 months? So some people have lost loved ones. Others have just gone through some, probably a typical type of grieving process, just simply because they've been disconnected from their friends and their commitment, and they've had this time to reflect. And it's going to be important to tap into what people are feeling, what people are thinking, where is their headspace at. So I think that the leaders need to really dial up their empathy meter is going to be extremely important. The listening, the empathetic listening on the part of the leader to understand what's been happening with those employees and where is their head right now, because that will help them to build the excitement about coming back to the office or being part of the team again.
Yeah,
I got to say real quick, John. You hit on something kind of important on this.
Go ahead.
And you talked about priorities. Those priorities about getting to the office on that time or whatever, they all had routines. And it was all about, the grieving process we talk about. A lot of ways to get over that was to stay busy. Get back to the norm, get back to work, get back to doing those things. And it required a certain routine, required getting up at a certain time, required looking a certain way, preparing yourself a certain way, having to get to the office on time. Those things in a lot of ways don't exist anymore. You can jump on Zoom and change your shirt and still have your shorts and flip-flops on. And are you truly in that mindset? Or are you in that mindset that you were in before? Part of that grieving process you talk about, and I lost my mother during this time. It wasn't due to COVID, but I had to go with all the problems that COVID created for her funeral and those sort of things. Well, one of the things that helped me get over is I kept a routine. I kept busy. I kept going. I don't know. Tell me what you think about that, Maikel.
You're going the right direction. Exactly where I wanted to go with that with you. So here's what I'd like to hear you respond to, both of you, in fact. You have got your own people that you're managing and you're leading who are going through a kind of grieving process. Their stresses, the things that they're going through. And grief doesn't always show itself as sadness. Sometimes it shows itself as kind of a depression. Sometimes it's anger. Sometimes it's fear. There's a lot of different faces, when you really take a look at that. Mm-hmm. So there's this that you're dealing with out here, and there's your own. As a leader, you got your own stuff that you're dealing with. And so then how do you deal with as Rich is talking about, how do I engage myself, getting back into it? And so here's what I'd like to bring in, and again, let's have Rich talk about, then you, John, please. How can an executive coach help you as the leader get your head back into the game? How can it help you find that new place of whatever it is? Because it's not that anymore. It's not the past. It's something else going on now. How can a coach bring into what's going on now, what has gone on, and now help you focus on where are we going here?
The principles still apply. Leadership principles still apply. What kind of leader are you? Who are you as a leader, and what do your people see you at as a leader? And so an executive coach can still help you understand who you are as a leader. And that's kind of outside of the new norm. If we're calling this the new norm. Once you can understand who you are and what type of leader you are, then let's focus on how to reconnect. Doing some of those 360 surveys. How do the people at home looking at you on Zoom really feel about you? And how, do they think you're, this guy that's wearing your shorts and a different, shirt and a tie, or they think you're the guy that's really serious about supporting them. Did they get adequate support at home now? There's all sorts of things to find out, but I think an executive coach can help you understand that and still have those conversations and still help you develop that leadership development plan. And there has to be one in place. There really does. You can't wing this. And I think even more importantly now, leaders need a coach. They need someone to help them understand and to get to the next thing, even if it's just for a sounding board. To alleviate some of that stress and look for adequate ways to deal with certain things. That's important.
One of the things I'd like you to talk, when you talk about the 360, that's great because it gives you a perspective that you may not have, giving that kind of feedback. John, some of the other surveys do this. Some of them show you your strengths, right? And then there's the gaps. And certainly in a time like this, when there's a lot of stress going on, a lot of expectations for performance, knowing what those strengths are and how to really strengthen them is important. And then knowing what the gaps are that are holding you back. The other thing that those surveys can show you is what are called surprises, right? You're surprised that you have a particular talent or gift that you just did not know. That's a surprise. And on the other hand, you may think you have a particular talent or gift and you're surprised you really don't have it. I was sure I'd know. Everything says you don't. I'm sorry. Yeah. So how can these kind of surveys, especially again coming out of this stressful, high tension change velocity, stuff going, how can they help that leader get connected back into it so that he or she can lead?
Yeah, it's a good question, Maikel. And I think that for many leaders that have sought executive coaching, they haven't had I would almost say that this is a unique time in the sense of it's created a transition point or an inflection point for many leaders, many companies, and many cultures, right? So when you're going through those surveys and you find out the strengths or the weaknesses, and you start thinking about what your success map is going to be for yourself as an executive, that success map may have shifted, right? And it may bring some of those strengths or weaknesses into clearer focus for people, saying, I've always been a really good finance person, and I've always had really good analytical skills, and I've been able to kind of, get by in my leadership style. Well, not anymore, right? If you were more of a thinker type of leadership style, and now the emphasis on your success map, or your map of success, is going to be more about empathy and communication. That might be something where you really have to put a focus on those skills or those competencies as a leader that are going to help propel you to the next stage, or to help you to propel the company to that next stage.
Exactly. And just like your employees that you're asking, I need to get you buying into this new vision. I need to get you excited about these new possibilities, these new opportunities. The invitation is exactly the same to the leaders out there. There may be opportunities that you don't realize that are there for you, that if you saw them, you'd say, yeah, let's go do it, because I must. You know what I mean? I can do it. I will do it there, and I must do it in order for me to do well, and for my team, my company, to do well.
That's a good point, Maikel. I think that this idea that there's a must, in terms of like, what is the must leadership you must have? What is the must culture you need to have? And I think it's going to come into really sharp focus for many leaders as we start to move to this new era, this new paradigm. That there's going to be a lot of dynamics. There's going to be a lot of demands on the leader. So as a coach, I can't see a better time to be helping leaders to make this transition, because I think there are going to be a lot of leaders that are going to need help to be able to, improve those skills, improve those behaviors that are going to help make them successful.
Excellent. John, if they want to get a hold of you, talk to you, the man here, about doing the work with you, how do they do it?
Okay, a couple different ways, right? You can reach me by phone, 720-235-9370. You can reach me by email, and that's John Burt at intelligentleadershipec.com, right? Or you can take a look at my website, which is John Burt intelligentleadershipec.com.
Outstanding, John. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Really a lot of fun. Thank you.
It was fun. Thank you so much. All right, your job now, Rich. It's all on you. Take us home.
All righty. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us today. John, as always, it's a privilege and a pleasure, and I always learn a ton from John. He's got such a great outlook on things. Our contact information is going to follow this podcast shortly, so if you have any questions, comments, or anything you want to see in an upcoming podcast, let us know. Reach out to us, and we'll do our best to get you on there, and hope to hear from you soon. So once again, thank you for joining us, and take care and be safe. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Once again, thank you for joining us. If you have any suggestions or comments, or something you'd like to hear about on a future podcast, email us at mbailey@intelligentleadershipec.com or rbarron@intelligentleadershipec.com, or go to our website, richbarron.intelligentleadershipec.com. Once again, thank you and take care.